Hello, my name is Matthias Erickson, and this is just my little podcast episode on mental health and well-being. It's a topic that we've been talking about this entire semester through Cooper Conversations and other various speakers. I think it's a really, really important topic to touch on, and something that's common in everyday life for most people, to be honest. Even people that seem like they have it all together, they'll feel loneliness sometimes. I know myself personally. I imagine I come across as pretty confident. I don't really take what a lot of people might say personally if it's rude or disrespectful, because I understand people, have their own struggles. But there's times when I feel lonely. I'm a big person that feels lonely in crowds sometimes, and it's important to recognize that everybody can feel lonely. Like, I'm a bit of an introvert, so you throw me in a room with a bunch of people, it might not look like I should be lonely, but having to meet people and it can just be overwhelming. And it's important to recognize how everybody feels lonely at some point. I know I listened to Dr. Murthy's conversation and interview, and one of his topics was his entire thing was about mental health and well-being, and he came to that conclusion about why he needed to talk about it because so many people brought it up as a problem. And it's really important to listen to each other and understand where people are coming from. Loneliness is everywhere. I remember his personal anecdote about how he gained compassion as a child, but how he also felt lonely at periods because both of his parents worked in the hospital. They had their own business. And it was a little isolating coming to a country, and he never expressed that loneliness, but it's important to talk about that so people don't become overwhelmed by it. I know many people who have had bouts of mental health issues just because they feel lonely and like they can't talk to anybody. And one of the things I watched a podcast on mental health and well-being and politics, and how the current political scene is terrible, particularly for young men, but for everybody, because there's so many polarizing things and people cannot genuinely just have a conversation. And whatever opinion you might have, it's important not to villainize people, and that goes for both people. I know the podcast I listened to tried to frame it as more of a right-leaning issue, but it's not. It's a universal issue. Hearing where people are coming from and not villainizing them, it's important to understand that everybody has their own perspective. And I think that was an interesting listen to with politics in that podcast. I didn't entirely agree with it, but I did agree with the main idea. They talked a lot about how young men are being more polarized and maybe a little more radicalized, which, regardless of what your political opinion is a reality. And that can lead to some violence, because a lot of men I know personally feel villainized by their own political ideologies. And even if you disagree with their ideologies completely, it is important to sit down and talk with them and just be open-minded. Having a conversation, trying to understand everybody is really important, and you're not going to do it all the time. There's times where it's going to be really, really difficult to have a chat with somebody. They're going to be closed off, they're going to be too emotional. That's fine. You have to take a step back and at least give it the effort. Another thing we talked about, there was a speaker that did the conversation tables out at campuses where you can go and you can just talk about something, and he'd kind of give advice, but there's times where he couldn't really give advice. But I mean, being there to talk to somebody is good, and the way he talked about how it spread and other people started holding conversations was really inspiring, because if you can just bridge the gap and go talk to somebody that's willing to listen and genuinely cares, that can be really good for your mental health and well-being. So offering that opportunity to do these conversation tables is tremendous for people on campuses, especially. Students often feel quite isolated. I know I didn't necessarily feel isolated coming to college, but I came to Nebraska and I was the only person I knew. I had a friend from my hometown in Kansas, but we didn't see each other. He was a chemie, so we didn't really interact. So I was me coming here and having to meet new people, and at times it was tough. In general, it wasn't the worst, and it was good for me because it was challenging. But being able to talk to people, I found a bunch of friends, particularly through Husker Catholic, who were great, and they listened. There was a missionary, his name was Greg Lyon. He was fantastic. I remember just showing up to Mass one day. One of my more recent friends was there, and he was talking to Greg, and then Greg met me, and then we met for coffee the next day. So really just extending a hand. I think Greg is a great example of how you can do that on campus, because even not through the lens of religion, he would talk to people who weren't religious, and I think that's a great way to go about things. It's like, hey, I don't know you that well, let me get to know you. Okay, what's going on? How can I help? Even with random people, it can be really powerful. So I think that's a really important thing to take into account. I think another thing you need to realize is that loneliness doesn't come in all forms. It's very, very diverse. I know the first Cooper conversation we had was just a bunch of videos, but it was people telling their unique stories of loneliness. Like there was a lady who was blind and how that made her feel isolated, and she didn't like being known as blind. She didn't like that being her identifying feature, but she found an online community that she was able to talk to. And that's really important, like recognizing, hey, people are not all the same. They have their own struggles, and we need to sit back and understand where they're coming from. I mean, we won't find success in the world if we stick to ourselves. Humans by nature, social. Not every, like, obviously there's specific cases of people that really don't need other people, but most people need to be social. They're social animals, just by trait. So it's really, really important to be able to talk and listen to people. And I know one of the ways I'm going to do that specifically is talk to my fraternal brothers. I'm in the fraternity Phi Kappa Theta, and it's a Catholic frat, and there's some guys in there who they're struggling with things, and it's important that they don't feel isolated, like they don't feel like their struggles are alone. I think it's a big theme in Catholicism in general, is just you're not alone. Everybody has their own struggles. It might feel like you've sinned in a specific way, and this is not to say that Catholicism is however you think, but it's a good example for sin is when you believe, or when God believes you've done something bad. It's you breaking the trust of God. Whether or not you believe in that, it's a good way to keep yourself accountable and have a moral standard. And it's important as Catholics to recognize that you're not alone. There's many people out there who struggle with the exact same things and who will continue to struggle. It's just the nature of being human. So lending an ear is one of the best things I've discovered on campus. For anybody who's religious that listens to this, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm going to plug Newman Husker Catholic, because great group of welcoming people. They'll welcome you even if you don't believe. If you're curious, just want to debate. I know I have a bunch of Protestant friends that come by and they talk about things they wonder about, and I'm sure many people, like almost everybody, would be willing to have a conversation with you about anything. Even if you're atheist and don't believe, and you believe that strongly, talk to somebody, and it's great. It's a great place to listen. There's no judgment. It's just a fantastic group. But I think finding groups on campus is important to do. Being able to talk to people. I know engaging with other people is one of the biggest things that I've done. I have so many random connections. Like I have a friend from Czechia this semester. His name's Tom Karaszek. He's an exchange student, and I met him on a picket soccer game, and we've been friends. I discovered he was in an international econ class, and we sit together, and it's great. I won't be here next semester because I'm going to Singapore, but I hope in the future, if I ever make my way to the Czech Republic, he's somebody that I think it'd be really cool to link up with again. So really just branching out and talking to people, being an ear. Don't just confine yourself to a bubble, because everybody needs help. Everybody's going to struggle at some point, and it's really, really important to be there for each other. So yeah, hopefully this is a good dialogue into health and well-being, a little bit of food for thought about what you can do and how you can help humanity in general, society, because a lot of people struggle. I know we talked a little bit about social media too, dragging on, but it's important to understand these things. And yeah, have a blessed life, everybody.